Ladies and gentlemen, it is Alex from Maximum Charge. Welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, welcome. Today we are on the newest offering from Velotric, the Nomad 2X. Now this is a very interesting e-bike because it comes in a step-through version and a step-over version. Currently we're on the step-over version, and this is really made for a bigger rider, 5'10" and up. And the step-through model's frame is smaller, so if you are not a larger rider, that version will be perfect for you. This is a full-size bike with premium dual suspension. So the front has an air fork, the rear has a rear D&M shock. Now this is sold as a Class 2 bike. You can unlock it to Class 3. And Velotric has some of the nicest features I've ever seen on any e-bike before. The fit and finish on this bike is on a whole other level. You get a beautiful display, beautiful control panel, turn signals, the ability to swap from a torque sensor to a cadence sensor, temperature information on your controller, and if you're deep in the woods and you want your e-bike to be as quiet as possible, this bike even has a stealth mode in the settings. So if those features sound good to you, check out the link in the description below. The prices of these bikes are always going up and down based on whatever kind of sales are going on. So to get the most up-to-date price, check the link in the description below. And if you love these reviews, using that link to buy your bike will help the channel at no extra cost to you. Now this bike has the usual nominal 750 watt rated motor with an advertised peak of 1400 watts. However, the numbers don't always dictate real-world performance. So if you guys are interested in seeing the power of this bike compared to the other offerings out there on the market, stay tuned because we're bringing this bike through a two-part review. Today we're going to be doing the usual test, the hill climb test, the top speed test, the 0 to 20 test, and after that we're going to go into a detailed overview of the specs and components on this bike. And then part 2 of this review video, we are going to be doing a range test to test the range of this 16 amp hour battery. So this isn't the biggest battery, I would say it's a medium-sized battery. And using the torque sensor, we'll see what type of range we get at the end of today's ride. So currently we're just seeing how accurate the speedometer is, and it looks like we are pretty good. There's a little bit of a delay with the GPS speedometer, but it looks like we're doing pretty good, guys. We're off by maybe not even 1 mile an hour. And on that note, let's start off with our usual 0 to 20 throttle only acceleration test. Now this bike has 3 different modes: eco mode, trail mode, and boost mode. Obviously boost mode is going to give you the most amount of power, and within each of those levels you get 5 pedal assist levels. So if you like power options, this might be a good option for you. And I did unlock this bike to Class 3, so while pedaling this bike I'll be able to get it to 28 miles an hour, but for this specific test, we're just going to keep it throttle only. Without further ado, 0 to 20, throttle only acceleration test. Here we go, 3, 2, 1, boom. Nice easy soft start, but not too slow. 20. All right, not too shabby. Moving on down to our long hill climb test. All right, here we go. Stopping at the sewer grate. Throttle only, long hill climb test. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, and we are off. If you guys love these reviews, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. If I've earned your subscription, like the video if you like it. I am on social media. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I have 2 Facebook groups, e-bike addicts and high-speed e-bikes 40 miles an hour and up. Feel free to check those out. And visit MaximumChargeEV.com for full leaderboard information. Look at this. Wow. All right, we're doing really good on that test. That was great. And something that I just noticed is that I actually have more than Class 3 speed. What I mean by that is in the settings, you can unlock the throttle so that it goes faster than 20 miles an hour, which is great because if you guys are familiar, Class 3 is 20 miles an hour throttle, 28 miles an hour pedaling. But if we take a look at the speed of the free spinning wheel, check this out. Wow, Look at that, we're going all the way up to 38 miles an hour. So this is cool because you can get so many different power options on this bike. You can make it class 2, you can make it class 3, you can make it more than class 3 if you want. Very cool. So now that we know that, let's check out the downhill speed test, which some might say is kind of useless, but really I just want to see how quickly we can get up to that 38 miles an hour free spinning wheel top speed. Maybe we can't even get there, we'll find out soon. Here we go. Yep, still feeling power. 35 miles an hour, 36, 37, all right. So guys, that is very interesting. So this bike can go well over 30 miles an hour if that's something you're interested in. A lot of bikes in this category are usually locked in at class 2 or class 3. And with this one, you can get even more. Handlebar width tests. Not too wide, not too narrow, just right. And if you notice, these handlebars sweep backwards. And on top of that, this bike comes with an adjustable stem. So you guys can get this bike set up perfectly to how you like it. So if you're interested in perfecting your riding position, this might be a good option. Steering radius test. Look at that. I can turn the wheel all the way to 90 degrees in both directions. So high maneuverability on a large e-bike. Moving on to the real test, the steep hill climb test. This seems to be marketed as an off-road adventuring / hunting e-bike. So if that's the case, this bike has to deliver some decent torque. And we're about to find out what that torque is like. Velotric markets this bike to have a peak of 1400 watts. Let's find out if we can make it up the steep hill climb test. We got our GPS speedometer out. 3, 2, 1, go. All right, we're moving. 9 miles an hour, 8, 7, 6, 5. Interesting. All right, guys, we're making it. That's pretty solid. For a full-size wheeled 48-volt system, I am always happy to see that an e-bike can make it up that hill. Very nice. And we're actually gonna do that again because I wanna show you guys something very interesting about this bike and the information that it shows you. This bike will also show you motor temperature and controller temperature, which in my opinion is hugely important. The only thing I wish the display also showed was battery voltage, but I guess you can't get everything. So right now the motor temperature is 125 degrees Fahrenheit, controller temperature is 82 degrees. Let's see what the numbers get to when we're climbing this steep hill again. Here we go, this is throttle only. I'm gonna call it out. All right, still at 123 and 80. We're slowing down. This is really stressing the motor out a lot. I'm curious to see what the temperature will read. 125.82. Wow, look at that, we are crawling. Under 5 miles an hour, struggling to stay upright. 127.84, that's not bad. 129.86, we're still climbing. We're gonna keep going up this hill. 131.87, 132.89. All right, we're still going, guys. Still climbing this hill. 134.91, 149.98. Wow. All right, we reached 150 for the motor temperature. Let's keep going. Controller temperature has reached 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's keep going. Going up this hill. All right, so we'll end our temperature test there. We're at 165 and 109, but still getting plenty of power from everything. So, and believe it or not, that is not all that hot. So currently, if you guys notice, I am in my jacket. It is not the hottest day. It's about 55 degrees and windy today. So if you are gonna be riding around in hotter environments, knowing the temperature of your controller and motor is very important. Let's move on to our brake test. As usual, we're gonna use these parking spots to measure the braking distance of this bike. And we will be stopping from 20 miles an hour. 20 miles an hour and brake. Wow. You guys see that? That stopped pretty good. We initiated our braking right about here. Went through one spot. We stopped in the middle of the second spot. I'm pretty happy if most e-bikes can stop in the distance of 2 parking spaces. And I would say the brakes on this bike are pretty good for a couple reasons. Number one, these are Tektro branded hydraulic disc brakes. And number two, up front, we get a 203 millimeter rotor. So because these are name brand brakes, even though they are dual piston, they still seem to stop pretty well. And in conjunction with the larger front disc brake rotor. Stopping power is going to be solid on this bike. And now on the way to our secondary top speed testing site, we are going to be testing the Sidewalk of Doom. I did just notice that the rear shock is a little bit on the firmer side, so we're going to remove a little bit of air. You want to be insanely cautious when you're doing this, because if you take out too much air, the shock is going to go flat. It's not going to give you any shock absorption at all. It'll compress all the way down. So when you guys do this, make sure it's only a fraction of a second that you're letting air out. Here we go. Literally, that's probably all it takes. Let's try the suspension now. It's a little better. Let's take out a little bit more. All right, that seems to have done the trick. Feeling a little bit softer now. And because the front fork is an air fork, and obviously this is an air shock, you are gonna need a special shock pump to control how much air is in the suspension. Not a big deal, they're pretty cheap on Amazon, maybe 20 bucks or so. Do not use a normal pump for your shocks, you will damage them. Oh yeah, much softer now. Now entering the Sidewalk of Doom. Oh yeah, I feel that suspension working nicely now. Much softer ride than a hardtail for a couple reasons. Number one, obviously the suspension, but number two, this bike has a nice wide squishy seat. One of the widest I've ever seen come stock on an e-bike before. One of the first things people do when they get an e-bike is replace the seat. I don't think you guys are gonna need to replace this one. It is phenomenal. So next we're gonna be doing our top speed test. Something I wanna mention before starting. Number one is that this bike has a medium-sized battery. So we've done 6 miles on this bike. You guys have seen the type of riding I'm doing. And we are already at 78% battery. So it doesn't look like we're gonna get that much range on this bike. And because we're at 78% battery, we might end up getting a top speed that's about a mile an hour less than what you might get if you're at 100% charge. So maybe we'll tack on an extra mile an hour or so to our official rating of this top speed. What we'll do is pedal as hard and as fast as we can and see where the throttle takes us. And this is also going to give us a chance to test the ghost pedaling on this bike. Here we go. Pedal, pedal, pedal. Still plenty of resistance. Tuck down. We're holding 34 miles an hour, down to 33 going uphill. All right, let's do that again going the other way. 33, 32 going uphill. So that second part we were going uphill for a bit. So realistically, considering the free spinning wheel top speed is 38 miles an hour, you guys could probably expect 33 to 34 miles an hour top speed from this bike when the throttle is fully unlocked. And before we continue with today's testing, let's head back into the MCHQ and get a detailed overview of the specs and components of this bike. Let's take a look at the specs and components of the Velotric Nomad 2X. At the top we have rubber ergonomic style handlebar grips. These are actually really nice, and they are locking. Tektro hydraulic disc brake levers, ergonomically styled thumb throttle on the left. Look at this control panel, this is nice. Turn signals, plus and minus for your pedal assist and your lights. We're gonna go over these controls in a second. Oh yeah, and underneath is a tiny little hidden USB-C port. And if we hold the power button up here, the bike does turn on. We'll go over the functions of the display in a moment. 8-speed trigger shifter, and this bike also comes with a bell. And these handlebars are slightly swept back for a more comfortable riding position. For lights, we get this single light up top on the handlebar, which is fairly bright. It's advertised to be 130 lux, and it looks like it has an IP rating of 6. Here's what the rear light looks like, and here's what it looks like when you hit the brakes. That's actually pretty bright. This bike also has rear turn signals that you can use by pressing left or right. Check this out. So you press left. Not only do you get a visual indicator on the display, but it also gives you a sound, which you can turn off, by the way. And here's what the rear indicator looks like. Lots of cables on the front, but they look okay and they are routed through the frame. This bike comes with an adjustable stem, so this is great if you want to perfect your riding position. For fenders, you get a front metal fender. Same thing in the back. Trauma Fat Air front fork. This is an air shock, so fantastic travel and adjustability on this. You can unscrew the cap on the left, fill it in with more air to perfect the comfort and travel of this shock. Let's put that back. Lockout adjustment on the right. And underneath the right side, we have our preload adjustment. For rear suspension, we have this D&M air shock tucked away in the frame. Very sleek design. To add or remove air, you just unscrew this cap, and you can use a special shock pump to add more air. On the shock itself, you will see recommended pressure ratings for different weight riders. And the travel on the rear shock, in addition to the front fork, is fantastic, and I would say definitely off-road worthy. For wheels, we get 26 by 4 inch size wheels wrapped with Kenda tires. This tread pattern is aggressive and does grip well in the dirt, although these tires are also pretty quiet on the roads. I've always liked Kenda tires because they give you the best of both worlds. For brakes, we get a giant 203mm rotor up front with a dual piston Tektro brake caliper as well. Same caliper in the back, but the back has a 180mm disc brake rotor. Let's talk about this frame. First and foremost, look at this paint job. This paint job is one of the best, coolest looking colors I've ever seen on any e-bike before. I've had the Velotric Summit 1 before in this color, and it got a lot of different compliments. And by the way, this full-size step over edition also comes in the color Royal Blue. And this frame is recommended for rider heights of 5'10 to 6'5", so this is a larger frame. If you're a bigger rider, this is going to be the bike you want. The step-through version of this bike is a smaller sized frame. It's recommended for riders 4'11 to 5'10", and it comes in a sage color along with a very nice looking fig color. And in the future, both models will also be available in camouflage colors. Perfect for hunting. And on the frame, we have our official UL certification sticker. Up front, we get some mounts for a front basket or other accessories. Looks like we get some more mounts right over here. And underneath the top tube, so you can mount 2 water bottles or other accessories. Class 2 sticker on the bike, because this bike does come delivered to you as a Class 2 bike, although you can unlock it in the display settings to Class 3. We're going to go over that in a moment. The construction of this frame does appear to be very premium. Really nice build quality from Velotric. This bike also comes with a sturdy looking rear rack. On the rack itself, it is advertised to support a maximum load of 66 pounds. But on the website, they do show that the rack can support 120 pounds. Looks like this rack has areas to mount pannier bags on the sides as well. And it does have a lot of cross bracing, both for weight distribution and protection to make sure if you do have a pannier bag mounted on the side, it's not going to be pushed into the brake or the wheel. This bike has an advertised 560 pound payload capacity. The advertised weight of this bike is 80 pounds. For a battery, this bike comes with an integrated 16 amp hour battery, which I would say is on the smaller size considering the size of this specific bike. I definitely would have liked to see at least a 20 amp hour battery for a bike this size. This bike comes with 2 keys to remove the battery, and to remove the battery there is a key port right in there. Twist that and the battery is unlocked, and from there you push the latch down and you can remove the battery. Up top, the battery has a carrying handle, and on the bottom we have a button that you could press to show you your charge indicator. And on the website, this battery is advertised to be UL 2271 certified and IPX7 rated water resistant. So for a battery, this is very water resistant. The plus side about having a smaller battery is that they are generally lighter, so it wouldn't be too bad to just buy another one of these and carry it on the rack. And that way you'll be able to get a little bit more range or have less range anxiety. To put the battery back in, you just line up the bottom, latch it in, and obviously remove the key. To charge this battery while it's in the bike, there is a covered, spring-loaded charge port door right on the side. This is fantastic for if you're riding in the rain. This will offer you a lot of water resistance. And for a charger, this bike comes with a passively cooled 3 amp charger. This bike does come with basic plastic pedals. These are pretty easy to switch out. Just spend 20 bucks on Amazon and you can get yourself really nice metal pedals. This bike comes with a torque sensor that you can switch to a cadence sensor if that's something you prefer. However, the torque sensor will be a little bit more energy efficient. You can easily switch from a cadence to a torque sensor in the settings. We'll go over how to do that in a moment. This bike is compatible with Apple Find My, great security feature to have. For a seat, we get a gigantic, very squishy, very wide seat. This is probably the widest seat I've ever seen on a stock out-of-the-box e-bike, and it looks like this seat even has springs underneath as well. Most likely, you will not have to switch the seat out for something more comfortable. For a motor, this bike comes with a Velotric branded 750 watt nominal geared hub motor, and on the motor itself, it is advertised to peak at 1300 watts. And on the website, it does say that the motor peaks at 1400 watts and gives us 105 Newton meters of torque. For gearing, this bike comes with an 11 to 40 tooth freewheel, so big range for your gearing. You can get either very low end torque with that 40 tooth granny gear, or lots of high speed pedaling with the smaller 11 tooth gear. This bike comes with a Shimano Acera derailleur. I would have liked to see a derailleur guard, especially considering it's only a couple bucks more. Very nice looking rubber chainstay protector to protect this beautiful looking paint job. And this bike comes with a medium to larger size chainring. And it does come with metal chain guards on both sides. And in the box, you also get this flashlight with a mount. I couldn't quite mount this on the handlebar, but this light is interesting. Check this out. So if you press the button back here once, it's solid, the light is solid. If you double click the light, you can have it flash rapidly. Do it again, flashes slowly in this interesting pattern. I think this is an SOS pattern, I'm not 100% sure. Double click again, and it goes back to this solid light. Let's take a look at all the display settings of this bike because there are a lot. So to turn the bike on, you hold the top button on the control panel, and that will turn your bike on. So this bike can cycle through 3 different riding modes: Eco, Trail, and Boost. Boost gives you the most power, Eco will give you the least amount of power, and of course Trail will give you a moderate amount of power. And within each of those settings, you can have 5 different levels of pedal assist. And down here, you can have different information displayed. I've only seen this on a few other e-bikes. Velotric shows you your motor temperature and your controller temperature. I have no idea why these temperatures are different because this bike has been sitting in my house for the last 48 hours. To cycle the different settings down here, you tap the M button in the center of the control panel. You get your trip distance, trip time, average speed, max speed, calories burned and CO2 saved, your odometer, and total time. In the center of the screen is this gray angled bar, and what this shows is the power output of the bike. The higher it goes, the more power the bike is giving you. And of course you have your battery bar up top. I would have liked this display to also show you your voltage and the wattage output. So for turn signals, of course, you could press the left button and you've got your left turn signal. Press that to turn it off. Same thing with the right. For a slow walk mode, you hold the minus button, and to turn your headlights on, you press and hold the plus button. Now to get into the advanced settings, you hold the M button. There it is. Stealth mode is interesting because when you turn it on, press the M button and press one of the side buttons, and this gives you a warning about what stealth mode does. It says it disables the lights, the turn signals, and changes the speed limit, and it also reduces the screen brightness. Let's confirm that. And you can adjust all of that. You can increase the screen brightness if you want to keep it on. You can change the different speed limits for both pedal assist and your throttle. Let's turn stealth mode off. To save that, press the M button and it is saved. Speed limit, here's where you can change the bike from class 2 to class 3. You can bring the speed all the way up to 28 miles an hour for both pedal assist and throttle. Let's save that. And to go back, you press this button underneath the control panel. Sensor swap is where you can adjust if you want a torque sensor or a cadence sensor. When you switch it to cadence, it does give you a warning telling you that it will typically use more battery in cadence sensor mode. So if you want your bike to force you to exercise, torque sensor is what you want. If you want a more relaxed experience, but you'll use up more battery, cadence sensor is what you're gonna want. You can clear your trip data, change your screen brightness, change your riding mode, although you can easily do that from the control panel from the main menu. You can change the rear light mode. You can make it flashing and have different light patterns when you brake. So when you change the settings so the rear light flashes, that's what that looks like. And here's what it looks like when you hit the brakes. You can also make the rear light steady, but when you hit the brakes, it will flash. Here's where you can adjust the auto headlight Currently it is on, auto power off, so how long the bike will stay on if you're not using it. You can change the throttle limit, so depending on if you're in torque sensor mode or cadence sensor mode, you can adjust the speed limit of the throttle. Cruise control settings, turn signal click. Here you can turn on or off the sound for the turn signals. Here's where you could connect to the app, and this display will update over the air. So if Velotric ever has any updates, you can easily update your system. Apple Find My settings. Here's where you can switch from kilometers an hour to miles an hour. Sensor calibration if you ever need to do that. Information on the specific version of the software that's on the bike. And let's go back. All right, guys, welcome back to the review ride. Let's continue testing the Velotric Nomad 2X. Let's talk about what the different levels feel like. So boost mode, of course, gives you the most amount of power. That's the level that we've been on throughout today's ride. But we are still in torque sensor mode. So if I pedal lightly, I will not get all that much power. But of course, if I push down hard into the pedals, I get more power. Bringing it down to pedal assist 1, getting a little bit of power, but not all that much. There's a little bar next to the speedometer that shows you how much power you're currently getting. And as we increase that, the bar goes higher and higher, showing you the current power output of the bike. So if we switch the mode to eco mode, now we are barely getting any power at all. I barely even see that bar. So if you guys are interested in getting as much range as possible from this medium-sized battery, this is going to be the option to go with. And trail mode is going to give you something that's kind of in between eco mode and boost mode. So let's say you're not a torque sensor person. We can go in the settings, go into the sensor swap setting, and just switch it to cadence. Gives you a warning with cadence sensor, battery consumption will be higher than torque sensor. Do you want to proceed? Yes. And the reason I want to do that is to show you guys what the top speed is of each level. So cadence sensor, so this is on boost mode. Pedal assist 1, we get 10 miles an hour with the cadence sensor. Pedal assist 2, 13 miles an hour. Pedal assist 3, 15 miles an hour. Pedal assist 4 gives us about 18 miles an hour. Pedal assist 5 cuts me off at 20 miles an hour. But of course, if I use the throttle, we can go all the way up to that 33, 34 mile an hour top speed. So you can make this bike as class 2, class 3, or what we'll call class 3 plus. Get that little bit extra for your top speed. Let's test the bike's stealth mode. So we'll hold the N button to go into the settings. I want to see what that's all about. Stealth mode. Stealth mode on. Turning on stealth mode disables lights and turn signals and changes the speed limit. Use extra lighting when riding in the dark. Confirm. It's got a little guy over here with a mask and a hat. Nice. So I'm not getting any more than 15 miles an hour right now, throttle only. And if I pedal, also not getting anything more than that. And when the motor is not outputting a lot of power, generally speaking, it's going to stay quieter. And considering the display is dim, none of the lights will work. Yeah, I would say it's definitely stealthier than before. That's a cool little feature to have. And by the way, you can adjust a lot of the settings in stealth mode. You can increase the screen brightness if you want. The speed limit for both pedaling and the throttle. So again, guys, there's just so much adjustability on this bike. But let's go ahead and turn that off. Let's take a little bit of air out of the front fork as well. This bike seems to be set up for a heavier rider out of the box. I'm 5'10", 200 pounds. If you were maybe 250 plus, the suspension setup probably would be okay out of the box, but for me, it's a tiny bit too firm. So again, we're gonna do the same thing. Take out a tiny bit of air at a time. That's it, let's try that. Looks like we need some more rebound. And by the way, there is a rebound adjustment underneath. Turn that all the way to the left, and that will really soften up the suspension quite a bit. Oh yeah, we got a lot of travel now. I'm happy with that. So typically when you get a bike with air shocks, you will need to set up the shocks properly. It does take a little bit of time to do that, but once you get that all set, it's gonna feel really nice. All right, so for mileage, the display is showing us 8.2 miles. We're also showing 72% battery. And on my GPS, we are showing exactly 8.2 miles. That is, wow, right on. Next up, we are headed to our off-roading section of the trail to test the suspension and off-road ability of this bike. Stay tuned for part 2 of this 2-part review video. And let me know what you guys think so far of this Velotric Nomad 2X. This full-size, off-roading, hunting-oriented adventure e-bike. I think it's got some very, very nice features. Some interesting ones that I have never seen on any e-bike ever before, like the stealth mode. Tons of different power level options. The ability to switch from a cadence sensor to a torque sensor is very nice. Pretty decent power. The only thing I wish this bike had more of was battery. It really does need a bigger battery in my opinion. 16 amp hours for 2025. It's a little bit on the smaller side. I would have liked to see a 20 amp hour battery. Link to this e-bike in the description below. And if you guys love these reviews, using that link will help support the channel at no extra cost to you. And thank you very much to the guys that are using my links. I really, really do appreciate it. If I have earned your subscription, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. Like the video if you like it. And if you don't like it, tell me why. Tell me in the comments. Tell me why you're mad. You guys can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. I have 2 Facebook groups. High-speed e-bikes, 40 miles an hour and up, and e-bike addicts. Visit MaximumChargeEV.com for full leaderboard information. We're gonna continue on down to the off-roading trail, but that is it for today's video. See you guys in part 2.